Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Shahab Karni from TVI 95. Of course, under these situation from my digital virtual studios, this morning I have with me Senator Mary Beth Carozza from, I would say, Eastern Shore prominently, but she is a shining and emerging leader in the state of Maryland, her political horizon. Welcome to my studio, Senator. How are you?
Well, thank you for this kind invitation on this snowy morning in Annapolis.
I know. But be safe. But before we go to the other points that I'm going to ask you about the state of Maryland and about your role, just briefly tell our viewers your journey of progress. How did you get to this position where you're sitting right now with one flag from the state, one from the state of Maryland? Go ahead, please.
Well, thank you. Well, I wanted to let your viewers know that I actually grew up in Ocean City, Maryland, and our family had the first fast food drive-through restaurant in Ocean City. It was called Beefy's. And the reason I wanted to share that with you and your viewers is that that's where I learned my work ethic, because it's a family business and we had to work very hard. And my mom and dad probably gave hundreds of teenagers their first job, working in the fast food restaurant. And that experience and seeing my parents, who also not only worked hard in the family business, but also took time to serve in the community and serve in our church. So I was very much at a young age influenced by the example of my parents, and that gave me the foundation to want to pursue public service. And after graduating locally at Stephen Decatur High School in Berlin, Maryland, I went on and went to the Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. And I wanted to note that because that gave me that experience of going to school in Washington, D.C., in the nation's capital, at a time when Ronald Reagan was president. I know I'm dating myself there, but you very much had that sense that you were part of something much bigger than yourself. And I had that spark, I had that interest that I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to be part of public service. And that's where my very first position in public service was working on Capitol Hill in a communications position. So it's as if all my background and my family experiences led up to that point. I am probably the only member currently in the Maryland General Assembly who has served at both the state and federal level in both the executive and legislative branches of government. And very proud to note that I spent 4 years as Governor Ehrlich's Deputy Chief of Staff and was very proud of what we accomplished for the state of Maryland during that time.
Excellent. What an accomplishment. Senator, tell our viewers what jurisdiction do you cover being the state senator?
So my district is District 38, and that includes all of Worcester County, which is Ocean City, Ocean Pines, Snow Hill, and Pocomoke. It includes all of Somerset County, which includes an island, Smith Island, so you need a plane or a boat to arrive there, as well as Crisfield and Princess Anne. And I represent half of Wycomico County, including parts of Salisbury, Fruitland, and Delmar. It's a very diverse district and a great cross-section of Maryland itself, because we have tourism, we have farmers, we have watermen, we have healthcare providers, lots of small business operators. So it's a wonderful place to visit, to live, to retire. And I invite your viewers, I'm sure, Ocean City is Maryland's beach town, but I also want to point out that there's so many other great spots to visit and to think about, maybe having a place or eventually retiring in my district. So that's an open invitation.
Good to know. Thank you very much. Senator, tell me your thought process, and you combine farmers, tourism, waterfront, the Delmar, almost across the borderline of Delaware State. Let me ask you something. There is a thought process to make that part of state of Maryland a destination for international farmer convention every year. What do you think about that? Do you think there's going to be a good thing for job creation and economic activity there?
I'm sorry, you're specifically talking about
It's
the
for like yearly international convention for farmers.
So I would like to point out that the Ocean City Convention Center, which is in my district, which we have worked on trying to increase the size there, mainly because we have had such interest in international conferences like the one you're talking about and others to expand the Ocean City Convention Center so those groups can come in and actually meet in my district. And that's very important for a couple different reasons. Number one, when these groups come in, they generate and support our local economy. And we, of course, want to be very welcoming and showcase this part of Maryland. I also think it's important from the standpoint that when these important conventions are held in my district, it really allows my constituents then to be more involved in some of the policies. So, for example, right now, obviously with COVID-19, we have not been able to hold these conventions, but we're looking forward to those returning. But when they are held, very very important policies are established. So when you're talking about tourism, when you're talking about farmers and watermen, in so many cases, those groups are looking for to have some regulatory relief so they can do their business and be successful. What I have found is that the groups that my constituents and the groups that I work with, it's not so much that they are demanding, a slew of new bills and legislation. They actually are looking for some relief from mandates so that they can have more independence, less costly burdensome regulations so they can provide more jobs. So I think it's really important that whether these are environmental policies, whether they're business policies, that when they are proposed either in the form of legislation or policies, we should look at the actual impact on families, on farmers, on watermen, on small business operators. So I'll give you an example. Right now, there is a proposed climate change bill, and it's a very massive, comprehensive legislation putting out some new goals in order to meet our environmental goals. The difficulty with this legislation at this time is that many of my constituents are struggling through COVID-19. Some of them need immediate relief, which we're working on Governor Hogan's package to provide that immediate relief. Some are thinking about what does their long-term recovery look like. And the reason I want to share this with you is that it's very important that we, as members of the Maryland General Assembly, understand that anything we propose is going to have some type of immediate and long-term impact. And I am very concerned about the long-term recovery, especially with some of our small business operators. So when I try to look at legislation and new policies, I'm really trying to understand what are we trying to accomplish, and are there any unintended consequences, such as high costs or burdens and regulations for the future that may prevent some of these constituencies from operating successfully in the future. So that I just wanted to share a little bit of my philosophical approach to these issues.
Absolutely. Now, question, any under your jurisdiction, do we have any opportunity zone there?
Well, I'm a member of the Senate Education, Health, and Environmental Affairs Committee. And I will note that this committee receives the highest number of legislative bills coming through that committee. And not only does it cover education, health, environment, it also covers municipalities, it covers election law, it covers our veterans. So it's a huge cross section of priority issues for the state of Maryland. I spend most of my time on committee work because we're looking at these bills to figure out how they will actually impact our constituents. And I do want to highlight one issue that I know would be important for your viewers as well. And that is the need to improve broadband access, not only on the shore, but across the state of Maryland. And if anything has come out of COVID-19, there is a shared priority, whether it's doing education and you need the broadband access, whether it's telework or telehealth, everyone agrees that you need this access. And especially in the rural areas that I represent, this has been a huge challenge. And so what I'm trying to do, recognizing that broadband access and increasing that availability is a priority across the board, I need to make sure that the constituents that I represent in these rural areas have access to those funds for the construction part, putting that fiber down so we can actually have that access in some of these most remote areas. And like I mentioned, I represent areas like Deal Island and Smith Island and some of these rural areas, Snow Hill and Pocomoke and in Wycomico County and Pittsville and other areas. So that's really a priority. And I wanted to use it as an example because it's a priority for all of the Maryland General Assembly at this point because of COVID-19. But some of us have been working on this issue in rural areas for many years, and we need to make sure that areas like my own receive the support we need to have that broadband access.
Thank you, Senator. My last question to you, that almost 1 year now, and we are having challenges with this COVID-19 and post and pre. My question to you, that how receptive is the General Assembly and the executive branch in Annapolis to whatever you are suggesting or your needs are? How receptive they are?
Well, I think it's really important that when I moved from the delegate, I was a delegate before I was elected to the Senate. And what became very clear when you moved over was that you are a senator for all of Maryland. And so not only do you represent your area, but you're also to take into account the needs for the and priorities for the whole state. What I have tried to do is make very clear that I am the only senator that represents Somerset County and Worcester County, and I split Wycomico County with Senator Addie Eckert. And then you compare that to areas like Baltimore County, Montgomery County, Prince George's County that have, several senators representing them. So it is harder for those of us who represent these more rural areas. You have to work harder to really make sure that you understand the top priorities of your constituents, and then make sure that you are educating your colleagues across the Bay Bridge on the importance of our priorities and how they are important to the whole state of Maryland. So one example I'll give you is when I was advocating for the expansion of the Ocean City Convention Center, I made clear that this was not just an Ocean City issue and it was not just a shore issue. It was an issue for the state of Maryland because we are an economic driver for the entire state of Maryland. And so when you put an investment into the Ocean City Convention Center, you're actually, the return on that for the state is tremendous. So I would make the point that, that you are investing in Maryland's beach town and not just Ocean City, Maryland.
I like it. You nailed everything. Thank you very much, Senator. I'm so excited that you came up with some very creative ideas. Your final question and final answer to the final question nailed everything. Senator, thank you very much. We are duly honored, and definitely in coming months, we are going to be keep inviting you for your ideas so that you can contribute to the state of Maryland well-being, and we can take it to the next level.
Thank you for this kind invitation, and I look forward to coming back on.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Senator. I appreciate it.